Okay, have you ever found yourself with a huge deadline looming, staring at that blank document, and you suddenly decide that right now is the perfect time to alphabetize your spice rack? Yeah, me too. If that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're jumping into Neil Fiore's amazing book, The Now Habit, to find out the real, surprising reason why we procrastinate.
So yeah, everything we're going to talk about today, it's all based on the work of psychologist Dr. Neil Fiore. This guy has literally spent decades helping people like you and me finally understand this super common, super frustrating habit. All right, let's get into it.
So let's just start with the big one. The question that probably brought you here in the first place. That frantic, caffeine-fueled, last-minute panic. The all-nighters, the constant promises of, okay, for real, I'll start tomorrow. Why do we do this to ourselves? We all do it. But the answer? Well, it's way deeper than you think.
And here is the first major clue for you. Your brain has a very, very specific reason for putting things off. And, spoiler alert, it has absolutely nothing to do with you being lazy, or undisciplined, or unmotivated. In fact, that whole idea, we're about to throw it right out the window.
Which brings us to our first big idea, what Dr. Fiore calls the laziness lie. This is the story that pretty much all of us tell ourselves about why we procrastinate, and honestly, it's a really destructive one. I mean, does this sound familiar? You put off a project, and that little voice in your head just starts screaming, right? Calling you lazy, a failure, undisciplined. You feel like you deserve that criticism. But here's the thing. That self-blame totally misses the point. And, as we're about to find out, it actually makes the entire problem so much worse.
Okay, so if it's not laziness, what in the world is it? Well, to figure that out, we need a totally new way of looking at procrastination. We need to reframe the problem, which gets us to the absolute core idea of this book.
This, right here, this is it. This is the heart of the whole thing. According to Dr. Fiore, the act of putting something off, that's not the actual problem we need to fix. It's just a symptom of something else going on way deeper under the surface. And here's the other half of that thought. Procrastination is actually your brain's strategy. It's its attempted solution to a different underlying issue. It's a coping mechanism. So think of it less like a personal flaw and more like a smoke signal from your mind, trying to warn you that something isn't right. And here it is, the formal definition that just changes the whole game. Procrastination is a coping mechanism for anxiety. That's it. This means every single time you put something off, your brain isn't being lazy. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to shield you from the stress and anxiety that's tied to that task. It's a subconscious act of self-preservation.
Which leads to the obvious next question, right? Okay, so it's anxiety. But what kind of anxiety could possibly be so powerful that it makes us avoid the very things we want most? The things that are tied to our most important goals?
Well, that anxiety comes from a handful of core fears. These are the really deep-seated worries that your procrastination habit is trying, in its own kind of clumsy way, to protect you from. This quote, which is cited in the book, just nails it perfectly. Procrastination isn't really about avoiding the work. It's about avoiding a potential judgment on your self-worth. It's a shield that you subconsciously raise to protect who you are as a person from the outcome of a task.
And here they are, the big 4 fears that are really driving the bus. First, you've got the fear of judgment. This is where you've somehow connected how well you do something to how valuable you are as a person. The thinking is, if this report is bad, then I am bad. Suddenly, a simple task becomes this massive verdict on your entire identity. Next up is perfectionism. Oh, this one is sneaky. It's that intense pressure for a flawless result. The logic is, if I can't do it perfectly, it's better not to do it at all. So you never start. Then you have the classic fear of failure. By waiting until the last minute, you give yourself the perfect built-in excuse. You can say, well, of course it wasn't my best work. I only had a few hours to do it. It's a way to protect your ego, right? It saves you from the possibility of finding out that you failed even when you gave it your all. And finally, there's just that feeling of being totally, completely overwhelmed. The project seems so huge, so complicated, you have no idea where to even start. So you don't. You retreat to something small and easy instead. So if procrastination is just a shield against these fears, why does it become such a powerful, almost unbreakable habit? Well, because, and this is the crazy part, procrastination actually gives us a reward. And that reward is immediate, temporary relief from stress. The second you decide, you know what, I'm going to do this later and watch a video instead, all that anxiety from those fears just vanishes. Poof! And your brain logs that as a huge win.
It says, okay, anxiety was high, we did that other fun thing, and now anxiety's gone. Let's remember that for next time. And boom, a habit is born.
And this kicks off this awful, vicious cycle. It starts with pressure, which triggers one of those core fears we talked about, so you procrastinate to get that little hit of relief. But then, of course, the deadline gets closer and closer, which causes panic and a massive spike in stress. You scramble, you feel resentful about the project, and you produce work that you know isn't your best. And then the worst part, you tell yourself, I am never ever doing that again. But because you never actually dealt with the underlying fear, the cycle just resets and starts all over again with the very next thing you have to do.
So here's the most important takeaway. To break this cycle, you can't just willpower your way through it. You have to go deeper. You have to fundamentally change your internal identity from seeing yourself as a procrastinator to seeing yourself as a producer. I mean, just look at the difference in the self-talk here. A procrastinator thinks in terms of threats and obligation. I have to finish this thing, it's huge and overwhelming, and my entire value as a person is on the line. It's so much pressure. But a producer, they change the entire conversation. They ask a simple but revolutionary question, when can I start? See that? Not finish, just start. They reframe the project as just a task, not some final exam on their self-worth. And they only focus on one tiny, manageable next step. But here's the other game-changing insight. A producer knows that people aren't machines, so they schedule guilt-free play by actually putting fun stuff, a movie, dinner with friends, a walk, into their calendar. Work suddenly has a clear beginning and a clear end. This makes you way more focused when you are working because you know a real scheduled reward is coming. You're not stealing time for fun anymore. You're earning it.
This quote from Abraham Maslow, which actually opens the book, is such a powerful reminder of who we are. Our basic human nature isn't to be lazy. It's to create things, to do meaningful work, to feel a sense of purpose. That producer mindset, that's our natural state. Procrastination isn't who you are. It's just a fear-based habit that got layered on top of your true creative self. So the next time you feel that pull, that urge to put something off, instead of beating yourself up, try asking yourself this question. What is this feeling trying to tell me? Am I afraid of what people will think? Am I feeling totally overwhelmed? Is my perfectionism making it impossible to start? Have I been working nonstop without scheduling any real breaks or rewards? Because once you actually understand the message behind the anxiety, you can finally start to solve the real problem and get back to your natural state, being a producer.